In this video, I took one of the best sets of all time in terms of parts and turned it into two cherry blossom figures with a house they're building and some pot plants. The two trees in the original set I transformed into two figures and used extra parts to make these potted plants and a house that they're building. The two trees were pink and white respectively, and so I made the two figures pink and white, using only the parts from the set, meaning this is an alternate build, and if you have the set, you can make this build yourself. The potted plants, while they are quite finicky, is made using two of these eggshell elements placed inverted into each other, which were originally the flowers, and then adding one of these stem pieces with another brown stem on top before adding on the flowers. I like how in the original set they used these swirly cupcake pieces as the flowers, and I decided to continue that into this build. You'll notice that a lot of the details in this build are inspired by the original set and the way its pieces were put together, and that's because the original set did such a good job at conveying these floral forms. Onto the figures now. Their construction is quite straightforward, but I managed to use a lot of the pieces to make these characters. One part that is less straightforward is the hip section, where two legs join to one torso. If you remove the leaves, you can see one of the snot bricks with studs on all sides is placed at an angle with the dark red bent connector pieces to make the legs and the torso. This is duplicated in the other figure, but the white is swapped out for pink, and the lighter flowers is swapped out for the darker flowers, as is in the original cherry blossoms. This figure is holding a hammer for building the house, and this hammer is constructed by placing one of the stick pieces into a 1x1 rounded plate with a hole in it before threading it through a Technic brick and adding one of the flowers on the other side. This is the house that they're building. So far they've only built the frame, and I built it to use up mainly the extra pieces as well as adding some story to the scene. Originally I was going to make it like an A-frame tent or cabin, but it wasn't looking too good, so I took off one of the sticks from the side and brought it around to the back, where I turned it into a 3-sided house. I think it's going to end up as a 4-sided house. The figures just haven't got around to building it yet, and I did run out of pieces since I'm only using pieces from the original build. When putting it back together, I realised I put it in the wrong spot, so I quickly adjusted it before it was back to normal. The part roof here is made using some of the extra stick pieces and the 1x1 plates with holes in it, with some green leaves added on to add some liveliness and colour to the house. These are the parts I've got left over. It's mainly the flowers and the snot bricks, which I couldn't really use, but I think I did pretty well in using most of the pieces. So this is the finished build. We've got the white figure here, and here's a closer shot. You can see the green really pops, and so does the white. Here I was aiming for a black background, but I think the dark green actually looks quite good because the green of the wall wasn't as dark as I hoped it would be in the final photo. And that's all for this time. Make sure to like and subscribe the video, and I'll see you next week.